Last year, the linebacker room was the strength on the defensive side of the ball, and I think that they could even get better this year.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for ending your week with us here at Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week right here on the fabulous Locked On Podcast Network. Please rate, review, subscribe, give us your thoughts, your confidence, or your worries with the linebacker room for this upcoming season because, yes, we're going to start the show right there, guys. Before our last and final crossover, way too early preview episode. Yes, we talked with Trey Moore of Locked On Terps, continuing our offseason project of what we've been doing with other teams, going down MSU's schedule, seeing where they got better this offseason, what the stakes of the game will be. So, yeah, segments 2 and 3, chatting Spartans versus Terrapins. But right now, let's just head right over to the linebacker room, and we'll take a quick pit stop right by the internet really quick because this is something I've been doing the last few days on Twitter, guys. Getting out there, throwing up a poll, position group by position group, and the latest one was Spartan fans, you are feeling blank about the linebacker room. Now, the options, extremely confident, kind of worried, extremely worried. By far, most of you voted, 58% of you voted kind of confident. Okay, so feeling a little bit rosy about this room. And then in second place, kind of worried at 21%. So it seems like a bulk of us don't really entirely know how we feel about this room. And then third place was 15% at extremely confident. And then the caboose on this one, almost 4%, extremely worried. So I don't suspect you were penning down all those notes that I just had, but hey, this is what it came out to. About 75% of us are some sort of confident about this linebacker room going into this upcoming season. And that leaves, of course, 25% not so confident. And maybe that, is just the unknown with this room. You lost two big names last year. Names that we know, even though one was a transfer in Jordan Turner, but that was arguably the best defensive player on your team last year. And then Cal Haladay, a guy that's been starting here at Michigan State since 2009, seemingly. He's got about 50,000 tackles to his name. They're no longer here. So yes, it is going to be some new faces. It is going to be a boost in responsibility for a lot of these guys. But I think that this could even be a better room. I think it's going to fit the Joe Rossi defensive system even a little bit more than what we saw last season, guys. So let's just go down the depth chart right now, what we suspect will be the starting rotation here when the season does kick off in just a little over 3 weeks, or maybe if you're listening on Friday right now, 3 weeks on the dot. My goodness gracious. So weak side linebacker, Wayne Matthews. That's the guy that transferred last year from Old Dominion. He had a so-so season. I think that there's a lot of untapped potential there. And it seemed like as the season went along, he started to get more familiar with Power 4 football, Big Ten football. So I expect another big year from Wayne Matthews. Now the middle linebacker, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about this kid on this show, Jordan Hall, is your projected middle linebacker. Right behind him, Brady Pretzloff seems to be the guy. And then the strong side linebacker, go ahead and throw these three names in a hat. It's Darius Snow, it's Marcellus Polium, it's Samaj Bridgman, and then just pull out whatever name you want, and that's probably who's going to be starting on that week. I think that it is a close three-headed race for that strong side linebacker position there. Now, there was another transfer I did not mention, Ice Moa, transfer from BYU. I suspect that maybe he'll be on the weak side depth chart, but a lot of these guys can, rotate between these different linebacker positions here. But let's talk about the man in the middle. This is Jordan Hall. Now, before we talk about him, why I think that he could have a solid year, let's talk about who he is replacing at that middle linebacker role, right? Cal Haladay. Okay, incredibly familiar name. Even in this ever-changing landscape when there are seemingly 80 new names on a roster every single year, you could always count on Cal Haladay to be there, right, guys? Like a staple. He's brought us great moments, right? That pick six in the Peach Bowl was a fun time, right? Who could forget? He was really solid at stopping the run. He had multiple double-digit tackle games. And also, this kid just meant the world to Michigan State, not just for on the field, but he was like a captain of sorts off the field, because I look at all the change and the turmoil that he went through in his career here at Michigan State. So I say all this before I have the uncomfortable analysis, but It is uncomfortable. Look, it's worth bringing up, though, that he also didn't participate in Michigan State's Pro Day last year because, yes, he did have limitations, of course, especially in pass coverage. Was he the quickest guy with straight line speed? No. Was he the quickest laterally? No. And I even think that he would tell you that, yeah, he had some limitations at the linebacker position. Do I think it got a little over-exaggerated with how limited he was? Yes, I do. I think he was solid at stopping the run game, okay? Just go ahead and ask other running backs in the Big Ten Conference their thoughts on that. But I think, and not to say that MSU just blindly gets better because he's gone, but I think Jordan Hall, he has the experience, right? Former four-star kid has been playing in a steady, healthy role for this team ever since he's got on campus. And now, okay, he's going to be a little quicker laterally, mainline speed. I think that this is going to be an upgrade at the middle linebacker position. And also, let's just start talking about what's between the kid's ears. It's not just, the skills he possesses with his own body, but I really like the mentality of Jordan Hall because he was at a crossroads last year. True freshman season. He plays a whole bunch, right? And then I'm sure his sophomore season, he's probably cemented into the starting role, right? Then who's getting out of that car outside the locker room? Wait, is that Jordan Turner? Is that guy going to start over me here? In this day and age of college football, he had every reason to just hop in the transfer portal, or after this season where he kind of had to take a step back in his role to kind of just leave town, especially considering this isn't even the staff that recruited him to Michigan State. So I just like the moxie of this kid that he was able and willing to take a step back, to listen, to understand that, yes, 2025 is going to be your year. And he talked about this at Big Ten Media Day. This was a decision made after Joe Rossi sat him down and says, hey, we like you. You got a future here, but you have a lot to improve on in your game. Now, fast forward from that season last fall, okay, where he had to take a step back, and now all the clips, all the quotes coming out of camp, media days, Joe Rossi couldn't be more sky high on this kid. He was asked last week, hey, who's standing out on the defensive side of the ball? Now, he could have gone with a diamond in the rough, and he did. He offered up, Mike Shumbeeler later on in the chat, Derek Simmons in the chat, but his first guy he named was Jordan Hall. That middle linebacker commented how well he's been playing, how well he's just been controlling this defense. So I think that's going to be an upgrade right there at the middle linebacker position. And the guy behind him, too, Brady Pretzloff, who obviously I like, if you've heard me talk about him, former four-star kid, of course, from the great state of Michigan. But Joe Rossi himself said one day he will be, quote, a great player. Now, he also went on to say that he might, not just get 50 snaps a game because Jordan Hall's right there. But even your backup middle linebacker is a young, promising player. The weak side linebacker, Wayne Matthews, I'm just going to go quick on that. It seems pretty cemented in that role. He's a holdover from last season. And again, a lot of fanfare about him coming out of Old Dominion. He was great in pass coverage down there at that level. I still think he's a plus linebacker when it comes to pass coverage. As we go to the strong side linebacker position here, guys. Again, Jordan Turner. Fine player. MSU's highest graded defender on Pro Football Focus. Think yet you got way more out of him than you ever thought that you would out of Wisconsin. But he also had limitations too when it came to speed. In coverage, it wasn't necessarily great shakes. I'm picking out just one part of his game, but with these other names, Darius Snow, Marcellus Pulliam, former four-star guy Samaj Bridgman, who missed all of last year with an injury, these are all guys that possess twitch and speed and, well, ideally tackling ability. We all saw that in years prior that Darius Snow, one of the better tacklers on this team until his injury, and even last year when he was coming along later in the season, that tackling ability is still there. But it's important to have those kind of players in the Joe Rossi system because Rossi, if you didn't watch it at Minnesota, if you didn't see what he was doing, if you haven't just followed the way he recruits players, he prioritizes, just like you said, speed and twitch and length. And I know that just sounds so obvious. Don't you want every player to be fast? I just look at the defenses last few years. It's not necessarily always a given that you're going to have fast players. Now you do have a faster, more athletic unit than you did last season. Can they all gel right off the rip here in year two under Joe Rossi, even with these guys getting starts for the first time ever, seeing guys triple their snap count from last year? I sure hope so. I sure think so. You're hearing a lot about outside of the fall camp that, hey, year number 2, this is great. We all have a lot stronger of a bond. We all know what we're doing. It sounds cliche, and what else would they say? It's not like they're going to get in front of a microphone and say, no, Actually, we are actually behind the 8 ball here, even still in year 2. But no, like there is reason to believe, because it just makes sense that, yes, the second time around with a complex defense like Joe Rossi has, it's only going to get more familiar, and it's going to get better with guys that, well, fit the speed that you are looking for on this defense. So, yes, guys, the linebacker strength of the room last year, I think that they will be the strength of the year, the strength of the room this upcoming year 2. All right, guys, let's get to talking with Trey Moore of Locked On Terps to end our offseason project of looking way too early to some of these games where they got better in the portal. They got a fascinating quarterback situation, too, over at Maryland. But first, guys, need to talk everyone's ears off about FanDuel Sportsbook. That's right, guys. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. Look, you're already following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach, or let's say you're like me, you're a Tigers fan, and it's getting kind of miserable lately watching this team. Well, just go ahead and just do what I did the other day. Bet on the home run prop. I did Spencer Torkelson the other day, his first at bat. See you later. Plus 400 odds right into my account immediately. So thank you, FanDuel, very much for the quick and easy withdrawal there. Guys, if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Just open up the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Again, guys, FanDuel.com. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, and also you wonderful Locked On Terps fans too, because, yeah, that's right, we're doing this crossover episode here of Locked On Spartans, Locked On Terps, because Trey, this is something that we've been doing this offseason. We've been going week by week of Michigan State's schedule, getting a way too early look at the opponents. How do they get better this offseason? What are the stakes of the game going to be? But here we are, last week of the season at the Field of Ford. So that means two things. One, this offseason's like ending soon that we're doing this episode. And two, Trey, I get to finally ask you, Mike Locksley, hot seat season? Maybe? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a little bit. I think the seat's definitely getting hotter. I think if he has another poor year, especially with Maryland's Big Ten schedule, we actually got ranked on a CBS article the worst schedule, or the easiest schedule, I should say, in the Big Ten. So we're expecting hopefully a decent year. And I think if it's not a decent year for Mike Locksley, I think at the end of the year, I think there is a world where he could get let go if it's another really poor year, or if it's another bad year. The seat will be extremely hot for Mike Locksley, especially after what happened last year in terms of how we were looked at before the season and what we put out. So I do think the seat is getting hotter and hotter for Mike Locksley, but a lot of it's going to depend on how this season goes.
What's the pulse of the fan base right now? Is there optimism? Because as you said, like, it's not the world's hardest schedule in the Big Ten, but yet the over-under's 4.5 wins, so low expectations. Right. But then again, Trey, you guys just brought in this top 60 quarterback that we'll get to in a hot second. So, like, well, is there optimism? Is there apathy? Just what are the general vibes going into this year for Maryland?
Yeah, I think there's definitely mixed emotions. I think people are optimistic, obviously, about Malik Washington, the new 4-star rated quarterback, who I'm sure we'll talk a lot about. But there's also a lot of people who are down on this Maryland team and this fan base. A lot of people are down on this team, don't think this team is as good as what we had last year or any team over the last couple of years that Mike Locksley's had, so, including me. I think there's a lot of people who aren't just very high on the Maryland team this year, and it's a young team. We have a ton of new players, a ton of new transfers, a lot of freshmen that a lot of people think are going to play. So a lot of people have a lot of different types of emotions, but I think a lot of it is kind of like, this is a feeling out year, and people don't feel great about it, but people are really excited about 4-star quarterback Malik Washington.
Let's just talk about him right now then, because, I want to get to what you guys did or didn't do in the transfer portal, but yeah, like all eyes on Malik Washington, and he kind of gets like just buried in the conversation of quarterbacks to watch in the Big Ten, and certainly some of it might be he's a true freshman, and there's another true freshman just down the road from East Lansing that is getting a lot of the spotlight now. But Malik Washington, again, top 60 kid, top 5 quarterback in his class from Maryland's backyard. What do we know so far about the kid? What are the expectations for him going into this season for you guys?
Yeah, the expectations are high. They're really high. I think every report that's come out that I've read, anything online, will tell you that they expect Malik Washington to win the quarterback battle for the Terps. There is some question marks about that in terms of Mike Locksley technically hasn't said who the quarterback is yet for Maryland football, and it's still technically a battle with him and Justin Martin, who's the transfer from UCLA. But I think everyone has extremely high expectations for Malik Washington. I think a lot of people think he can be one of the best Maryland QBs that we've had ever. And they think it's the most talented quarterback Mike Locksley has had in the Locksley era, even more so than a guy like Talia who got the job done. But Malik Washington, in terms of his talent and his physical attributes, is much above what Talia could bring. So there are a lot of expectations. The kid's talented. He's a top end. He's a top end type of athlete. He can run. He's got the big arm. He's really got everything you look at, and it makes sense with him being a high-level 4-star recruit. So I think a lot of people have really high expectations for him. I do. I think he's arguably could be the best freshman in the Big Ten. Obviously, you talked about that kid over at Michigan, Underwood, who's very talented too. But I think Malik Washington, at the end of the year, a lot of people might look at him and say maybe he's the best rising sophomore quarterback in the Big Ten.
And who have you guys surrounded him with? Like, who are the weapons? Are they transfers? Are they also going to be fellow freshmen? Is this just like a young pup team through and through? Or what's really going to make the ball move down the field for you guys outside of just Washington?
Yeah, there's a couple players that I'm really excited about. Octavian Smith now going into his senior year. He's been a guy, I don't know if Michigan State fans remember at all, but he's been a pretty solid player for us. He's just kind of been waiting for his turn to come around, and now it is his turn. He's one of the faster guys on the team. He's a smaller receiver. He's expected to make another huge jump this season in his senior season. But then we also brought in Jaleel Farouk from Oklahoma, who was injured all last year. But if you go back and look at his stats throughout his time at Oklahoma, he's put up big numbers for Oklahoma. So definitely a really big time receiver pickup for us that we're expecting big things from, as long as he can come back healthy from that injury. But a lot of people are saying about Jaleel Farouk. And then we brought in this tight end, Dorian Fleming, who keep your eye out on. I keep telling people he's our highest rated player on the college football game. I like kind of looking at those. But he's coming from Georgia State, really talented tight end. I think he might be our top pass catcher, and he actually could end up being one of the better tight ends in the Big Ten. So those are three guys that you really look out for that are surrounding Malik Washington that I think are going to be really heavy in the game plans for us.
Do you think Maryland did enough in the transfer portal this offseason? Was there one position that you feel like they just neglected a little too much going into next year?
Yeah, I think we did a lot of different things in the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting route we actually took. I think Locksley kind of changed the way he kind of went about things. We added a lot of defensive linemen, a lot of interior defensive linemen. Yes, a lot of those guys. I think he's trying to get more depth, and instead of just having one or two or three guys that you feel really good about, he's just getting a bunch of guys that can just go out there, hopefully stop the run at a decent level, keep guys fresh, being able to rotate guys in or out. And then we also brought in some guys on the offensive line that are going to play, like Retrell Perry, that we're pretty high on. But I think the offensive line is the main spot you look at where we could have probably done a little bit more. Like I said, we brought in some guys, but there was a couple players that came in and actually transferred right out on the offensive line. Okay. We also lost some other players on the offensive line. So we're always kind of going to look there for Maryland football because I feel like it hasn't been good. It's been bottom of the Big Ten every single year. It feels like over the last couple of years is the offensive line. So I think that's definitely a position group that you could look at that we could add some more, that we could have added some more. But I think overall in the secondary, we added a couple players that we feel really good about in Jamar Glasker and Dante Joyner. But I think the offensive line is definitely position group. I don't want to say we neglect because we did bring in guys, but definitely I don't think it looks great still is kind of what I'm trying to say.
Well, good luck to the true freshman quarterback then with all that considered.
How do we feel about the head coach, Jonathan Smith? How do we feel about him now?
I like him. And I did like the hire. I thought it was one of the best hires Michigan State could have made last offseason, okay? Now, is that to say that, some concerns haven't percolated? More so for me, it comes in the world of recruiting. Thought that year 2 of recruiting so far, when this class looks like it'll be once again outside the top 30, I do wonder if we could ever get over that. Can you get a top 30, a top 25 class hump with the guy that really prioritizes a lot of 3 stars because he knows he can win those battles? And let's not kid ourselves. Michigan State also isn't winning at the clip that 4 and 5 stars would want to. They're not sending guys to the NFL. So I understand why he's going for these 3-star guys, diamond in the rough. But eventually that has to get better because it sounds like a lazy take, but it's true. The lifeblood of college football is in the world of recruiting. As far as in-game, I have no issues yet. As far as, how he perceives himself in front of the media and everything, I got no real issues so far. There are some fans that, don't like how much he doesn't yell or how unanimated he is during games, but that's what he always was at Oregon State. That's what he is here. He is just always at a 5 out of 10. Never 4, never 6. He's just always steady Eddie. So I like him, but let's see what happens in year 2. And let's ask that question maybe before this game kicks off at Ford Field at the end of the season, if anything good or bad has happened, Trey. So stay tuned for that. So do you mind if I just go into the world of gambling right now? Because we both have over-unders that are very close to each other. And Trey, yours right before recording. I know, right? Because you guys are at 4.5 right now. And I'm just going to go through the schedule really quick. I'm going to go fast like an auctioneer would, okay? So you guys open up 3 home games. It's Florida Atlantic, Northern Illinois, and then Towson. Who knew they had a football team? That's great. Good for Towson to have a football team. And then you guys go to Wisconsin. You guys host Washington. You guys host Nebraska. You go to UCLA. You host Indiana. You go to Rutgers. You go to Illinois. You host Michigan. And then you come to Detroit to play Michigan State at Ford Field. That's avoiding Penn State. That's avoiding Ohio State. That's avoiding Oregon. And depending on what you want to call the 4th best Big Ten team, if it's Michigan or Illinois, what have you, okay, you got to go to Illinois. But even that Michigan game is a home game for you guys. It's very hard to get a quote-unquote easy schedule in this Big Ten with how many good teams there are. But that's as fair of a shake as you could possibly get. But Trey, help me out here because I keep hearing true freshman quarterback. I keep hearing offensive line issues. Where do you reside on this? Are you in Overville or are you in Understown here?
No, I'm in Overville.
Okay.
And try to take the bias all out of it. I really think with this schedule, and the first part about it is our non-conference is pretty easy as well.
That's manageable. Right?
Yeah, we should go 3-0. In non-conference. I know last year, I guess Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois last year, but I hope that doesn't happen to us. But I'm totally expecting us to go 3-0 in non-conference. That should be, I want to say, relatively easy to do, and that's 3 wins right there. And we only need 2 more. And this Big Ten schedule is not that hard, and we're getting some very winnable games, and I just think across this entire season, nobody can tell me that we can't get 2 more wins in the Big Ten. That's why I'm in Overville with the easiest schedule that you pretty much can get. You mentioned in the Big Ten. It's hard for me to say that we can't get over 4.5, and I honestly think it's a good bet to win. There's just too many winnable games, and there's dogfights in the Big Ten. Just because a team over a favorite or over a team doesn't mean you can't win the game. So I think 2 more wins after those non-conference games is so manageable for the Terps this year. So I'm on over.
I might be sold here. And look, when I started this call, it's I don't know about Maryland this year. And I'm not, about to say that you guys are going to go to the college football playoff by any means, but just find 2 wins after the 3-0 start, right? And like you said, a 3-0 start is not a given, especially against a solid Northern Illinois team. That could go haywire before you know it. But if you do skate by 3-0, Yeah, just 2 wins. Like, that's not so bad. You get a Washington team traveling across the country after they just played Ohio State the week prior. Like, okay, could you get them on a sleepy little Saturday afternoon? You absolutely could. I mean, it's not like, these road games are world beaters. Your only West Coast trip is to UCLA. And if you had to pick between the 4 West Coast teams, that's where you probably want to go, Trey.
That's where we want to go. Sure. Yeah.
I might be on over 4.5. I did not think that I'd start this call saying, like, yeah, I agree with you. But, like, geez, after a second look at the schedule, go get that 5th win, Trey. Let's go. Come on.
Yeah, there's winnable games for sure when you look at it. And then also Wisconsin, who we play our former quarterback, Billy Edwards. I'm hoping
That's right.
Him and the Wisconsin game sandwich. They play Bama before us, and then they play Michigan after us. So that game's also, I think, interesting. But what about Michigan State? The 5.5 win total. How are we feeling about that there? Are we on Overville too?
Yeah, we're on Overville. Why not? Like, I got to win this bet eventually, right? Like, we can't go under 4 years in a row. No, look, I like everything Michigan State did on the offensive side of the ball, I think, and hope that I've made myself clear on that. And while this schedule is tough, it is not what it was last season. I think last season's schedule did MSU no favors. Now, look, were we going to go to the Rose Bowl if it wasn't for our schedule last year? No, we had our own issues, okay? But we also had Ohio State and Oregon 6 days apart from one another. Like, we had an Indiana team that became a wagon. We faced a really strong Illinois team that no one expected was going to be that great. So I like the way it sets up, especially to start the season, because unlike last year, hey, our second week of the season is on the road for a first conference game. And then, oh, yeah, that's right, you got a Boston College game on the road too, not too long after that. We open up 3 games at home: Western Michigan, Boston College. That'll be a little bit of a coin-tossy game. And then Youngstown State. So, I get in 3-0, and then can you just make some damage in the Big Ten play? Because I'll just go through the schedule super quick. It's at USC, and then you get a bye week, and then it's at Nebraska. Okay, those aren't going to be too fun, but maybe. Then you host UCLA, at Indiana, and then you host Michigan. You go to Minnesota, then you host Penn State. You go to Iowa, and then this game at Ford Field between our teams at the end of the season. Can you steal 3 wins? It's nice that your 2 biggest opponents are both going to be at Spartan Stadium to maybe ease the blow there. And I'm talking about Michigan and Penn State, of course, but I don't know. I see progress made with this offense enough that, hey, you know what? Maybe they can get in a lot of games where it's going to be this first team to 30. Even if the defense isn't great, like, I think this offense can have enough firepower to win some games in shootout form. And for the first time in a while here. So, yeah, Trey, I'm doing it, man. I'm going over. Again, like, hear me. Like, I'm not saying we're going 10-2, 9-3. Like, I'm saying that we can get to the finish line at 6-6 or 7-5 here. So that's where I'm going to live at right now, man. Does that sound silly?
No, okay. Not silly. I think the schedule's manageable. I think it's tough for the Marylands for sure, but I don't think it's as tough as it possibly can get in the Big Ten. I don't think it sounds silly at all. There's some difficult games for sure, but I can see you guys definitely stealing some Big Ten games. I think the team's better this year. Like, it should be a competitive team overall. I would take the over as well.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Look at us. Just 2 guys hanging out in Overville with one another. Guys over here, Matt Sheehan, Locked On Spartans. That guy over, that's Trey Moore of Locked On Terps. We both will be back because, right here in the Locked On Podcast Network, we do this every single day leading up to kickoff and, of course, beyond kickoff. You guys already know this. But, hey, until then, guys, go green over on my end, and then go Terrapins on your end over there, Trey. Appreciate you, dude.
Yep. Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll see you guys.